Hello, this is Onyx. Today we're going to have a quick review about the Flash movie starring Ezra Miller. We're going to get into some spoilers today, so if you don't want any spoilers, do not continue. Ezra Miller plays two Barry Allens in this movie as Flash, which I think is a very interesting choice. We also see Ben Affleck as Batman and also Michael Keaton as Batman. Surprisingly, we also see Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, which was a little surprising since all the turnover in the DC movies. I was not expecting many other appearances. We had a superpowered Kryptonian in this movie, but it was not Henry Cavill's Superman. It was Supergirl. We also get a little bit more on the Superman front later in the movie, but I'll get into that later. This Flash movie is a derivative work of the Flashpoint Paradox comic. It's a little bit similar to the animated Flashpoint Paradox movie, but it differs dramatically in terms of characters. Also, fans of the Arrowverse's Flash TV show will feel right at home with the amount of Barrys doing silly things in this movie. Some parts of this movie remind me of Flash's season 2 and 3 just a little bit, and I'm a little bit fond of the earlier Flash seasons, 1, 2, a little bit of 3, but farther from there, not so much. So let's get into the good things about this movie. Seeing the trailer, I was expecting Michael Keaton to be used as a one-off character, just as like a cameo fan service sort of thing. But surprisingly, Michael Keaton was used excellently in this movie. He was used as a character, not as a prop or just a gimmick. He was used actively in the service and development of the story, and also the main characters, and contributed to the main character / characters' character development. I found the Flash movie to be visually interesting, I guess would be a good way to say it. I wouldn't say that it's visually impressive or incredible, but it was interesting. On to the main character / characters again. We have two Barry Allens, and I thought it was a real fun idea to have the main character as two Barry Allens. It's something that we don't really see a lot of. Two characters bouncing off each other in a sort of dynamic. We don't really see that anywhere, like two Batmans or two Superman having a story wholly onto themselves. Their roles in this dynamic are also not quite what you would expect, or possibly will expect. It seems pretty straightforward. The Barry Allen that we're used to with the Justice League and the other DC movies has operated as a comic relief character in the past few movies. This movie turns it on its head and introduces a newer, younger Barry Allen that is newer to his powers, who operates as the comic relief, as opposed to the main Barry Allen, who now sort of operates as the straight man to the new Barry Allen. This teacher-student sort of relationships sort of furthers the development of the other Barry Allen, while also furthering the main Barry Allen's Flash mentor role. It's also unique to see in this that we don't see the origin for the original Barry Allen, the main Barry Allen that we have seen in the previous movies. We don't get an origin story for him. We instead get an origin story for this new alternative Barry Allen. And with this new origin story, it sort of operates as a hero's journey, but flipped on its head. We have the origin, we have the call to action. Usually we'd see it come full circle, but at the end, instead, he dies. There is a significant theme of death throughout the movie. Barry's mother dies. Barry's father is about to die. He's being put on death row for his supposed crime of killing Barry's mother. And in the final big action-packed fight scene, we see theme of death play a role again in that Supergirl and Batman keep on dying, and the two Barrys keep on reversing time, breaking the fabric of the universe. And this is where I think the movie gets into some of the bad stuff. There's a huge CGI fight scene in the middle of nowhere, definitely comic book movie style fight scene, generic action, but in a way, it furthered the plot. It had a purpose. It furthered the main characters. It showed how unwilling they are to accept loss, to accept death. So although it wasn't my favorite part, it still had a purpose as to most other action scenes in superhero movies. The film was a tad slow, but not in a particularly good way. It wasn't slow in a significantly bad way. I just thought it took a little bit too much time exploring the same world which led to big CGI fight scene towards the end and then a rushed climax of the story. And in that climax of the story, a lot happens all at once, and I feel it was a little rushed. We see now 3 Barry Allens. Alternative Barry Allen, the second Barry Allen, he goes through time and he repeats the same thing over and over again, trying to stop death, not really realizing that he couldn't. In the end, a past version of the alternative Barry Allen sacrifices himself from the future aged version of himself that can't accept death and was going to kill the main Barry Allen. He sacrifices himself to save the other Barry Allen, acknowledging that death is inevitable and that the main Barry Allen will need to go back in time to allow his mother to be killed. At this time, we also see the fabric of the universe erupting, universes colliding in a fan servicey way that I do not think is beneficial or helpful to this story at all. We just see random Superman and other DC characters. Overall, I thought it was a good movie, even though it had Ezra Miller in it. I know that there is a lot of talk about Ezra Miller's crimes, which we won't really talk about. We're just here to talk about the movie. But in the grand scheme of things, if you're a super fan, you should watch it. If you're a DC fan, I'm pretty sure you'll like it. I like this just a little bit below Shazam. If you're a Flash fan, I think you'll think that it's great. I think that it's great in terms of a Flash movie, because it's not a lot that we get in terms of Flash content. Usually it's Superman and Batman or Wonder, but Flash seems to be getting some representation here, which I think is awesome. In terms of a score out of 10, number scores are sort of silly, but I think it's fun to mess with them anyway. I set 5 as my average. Score of 5 would be a decent, like it's just your average score. It's a normal score. Below that goes from bad to worse, and then 6 to 10, that better and better. But I try to make sure all my scores are even and fair, even though the number scores are silly. In terms of a rank score, I'll give this a 5 out of 10. Good movie, go watch it.